Have you ever been a lifesaver for a family member, but to the point where you yourself were the one sinking in the waves? And when your responsibility is forced and your kindness is taken advantage of, will you choose to stay silent or stand up? Helplessness, pain, hurt, and resentment were the most uncomfortable feelings I'd experienced in a long time. My name is Crystal. I'm 27, squeezed into a rundown apartment in the Chicago suburbs where the wind howls through cracked windows and the heating barely works. I work as a marketing assistant for a tech startup downtown, making decent money, barely enough to get by. But getting by stopped being an option years ago, thanks to my family, especially my sister Fiona. She's 31, a single mother of two boys, Tommy and Matt, since her husband, Greg, died in a car accident 3 years ago. I've poured everything I have into helping her, money, time, energy, including standing up to rent a small house for her and her family because that's what you do for family, right? Except now, staring at this damn notice, I wonder who helped. My kitchen is dark, a flickering light buzzing overhead like a dying bug. A faucet dripped drip into a stained sink. An eviction notice lay there, white on the chipped countertop, screaming accusations I couldn't ignore. Outside, the Chicago metropolis hummed faintly, traffic, sirens, life moving on without me. Yet I was stuck here, rooted to this spot, my entire world tilting on its axis. It wasn't just a piece of paper, it was evidence that something was rotten, and I was too blind or too loyal to see it. I couldn't forget my childhood. Fiona had always been my parents' favorite. Would curl up in my mother's arms on the couch, tears and snot all over her scraped knees, while I stood on the porch, rain dripping through the roof, soaking my shirt, but receiving only the words, "Fiona needs more, Crystal," my mother said softly but firmly. "She's sensitive." And me? I nodded, shaking, water dripping from my bangs. I always nodded. Back then, it was the little things. She got a bigger slice of the pie, a newer coat. Now it was bigger stakes. I was paying $300 a month, half her rent, for the shabby apartment on Chicago's east side she called home. Plus, I chipped in when she forgot to pay. And the kids? Tommy 8, Matt 6, almost every day, loud and disruptive. I was the one who watched them when Fiona needed a break, which these days was almost every weekend. Meanwhile, I was making coffee at home because a $5 latte was a luxury I couldn't afford. And she was posting selfies on Instagram, manicured nails, smug smile. Last month, I saw her wearing shiny new leather, expensive boots while I was still taping the soles of my sneakers. And rumor has it she's flirting with some guy at a downtown bar. My money's keeping her going, and she's living like I don't exist. It's not even about the money. It's about who I've become to her, to all of them. I'm not a sister. I'm a bank account with legs, a babysitter, a part-time maid. But I do it, right? I send money every month. Every Friday, I open the door for those boys. Why? Because my parents drilled it into me. Family comes first, Crystal. Help your sister. She's been through a lot. Their voices echoed from Sunday dinners at their house, a small town 30 minutes outside the city. I swallowed every mouthful of food, nodding as if I had done as a child. I was a bird in a cage, wings beating against rusty bars, feathers falling. And Fiona was out there, flying high, free as you will, in the sky I built for her, every penny, every sacrifice. She had it all while I was choking on dust. And for what? So she could walk around like nothing had happened while I was drowning in her mess? The injustice of it clawed at me, sharp and ugly, but I never let go. Never. I picked up the eviction notice again, heavier than the paper. My stomach twisted. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I was careful with my budget. I kept track of every penny. I shouldn't be late. Not like this. My eyes narrowed, running through the numbers, the dates. The $300 I sent Fiona each month, it had disappeared like clockwork. So why was I the one with a debt collector breathing down my neck? A shiver of fear ran down my spine. I didn't want to believe it, but the pieces came together as I waited in the dark. Friday night, the doorbell rang like a drill through my skull. I didn't need to check the peephole. I knew who was there before my feet hit the ground. My body was heavy, still sore from a brutal day at work where my boss had shredded my quarterly report like it was scrap paper. I wanted to collapse on the couch, crack open a beer, and let the world fade away, but no. The insistent ringing brought me back to reality. Fiona was here again. I dragged myself to the door, ready for the chaos that was about to spill into my life. My apartment had walls so thin you could hear the neighbor's TV, a sagging couch with its stuffing poking out. The air smelled of stale coffee, the pot I'd made this morning still cold on the counter. The TV flickered in the corner, some mindless game show playing in slow motion, casting shivering shadows across the room. I threw open the door, and there she was, Fiona, resplendent in a glittering night-out coat, her perfume hitting me like a punch. Behind her, Tommy and Matt shuffled in, eyes already scanning for trouble. "I have work to do," she said, pushing the boys past me like luggage. "Watch them until 11, okay?" Before I could open my mouth, she was gone, high heels clicking in the hallway, leaving me with 2 tornadoes and a ticking clock. The storm hit not long after. Matt, 6 and sticky-fingered, grabbed my coffee cup from the table, half full from this morning, and knocked it over, spilling coffee all over the chair, soaking into the faded cushions. I lunged, furious, but he was already running away, giggling as if it were a game. Then Tommy, 8 and full of attitude, snatched a soccer ball from his backpack and started kicking it hard against the wall. Thud, thud. A third one hit my little balcony door, shaking it so hard I was sure it would shatter. "Stop!" I yelled, my voice cracking like a whip. "I'm not your fucking servant," Tommy turned, smirking, hands on hip. "Mommy told you to watch us because you don't have kids." Matt chimed in, "Yeah, no kids." And we both giggled, a team of defiance. I clenched my fists, gritting my teeth so hard my jaw ached. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw that ball out the window and throw them with it. But I didn't. I never did. 3 years ago, when Greg died, Fiona broke down. I was there, holding her while she sobbed, mascara running down her face. "You can't do this alone, Crystal," she choked out, and I held her tighter, whispering, "I have you. I'll help." That promise held me. From then on, my life was no longer mine. Weekends became babysitting marathons. Tommy spilling juice on my rug, Matt crayons all over my walls. My paycheck began to be split in half for me, half for rent, bills, her emergencies. I told myself it was temporary, that she'd get back on her feet, but temporary turned into years, and now I was the lifeboat she rode while I sank. Tonight was no different, but it felt heavy. I was exhausted, physically, mentally, all over. Today's work felt like a meat grinder, hours of revisions, my boss barking, "This isn't good enough, Crystal," until I wanted to crawl under my desk. I just needed a night to breathe. Instead, I wiped the coffee off the couch and avoided soccer. The boys didn't listen. They never did. Fiona had trained them to see me as the one to be bullied, the one who would take it all and keep quiet. And I did. I picked up a rag and wiped the couch, muttering curses they couldn't hear. Tommy came back and kicked that soccer ball, and Matt went through my refrigerator, leaving greasy fingerprints on the handle. I was drowning in this, and no one cared. Not Fiona, not the kids, not Mom and Dad with their endless "she's fragile" excuses. I wanted to scream until my throat was raw, to smash something, anything, just to get it all out. The TV was playing a commercial, all the shiny freedom I would never have, and it was taunting me. I imagined grabbing Fiona by her shiny coat and shaking her. Why me? Why always me? But she wasn't there. She was out there, laughing, drinking, living, while I was trapped in the cage she created. But I didn't scream. I swallowed it down, as I always did, the anger burning a hole in my gut. My hands shook as I threw the rag into the sink, looking at the clock. 8:47, 2 more hours of this hell. The boys were wrestling in the corner, screaming at the TV. My head ached. I was exhausted, tired to the bone, tired to the soul. I clutched my cold coffee, the one Matt hadn't spilled, and held on like a lifeline. I couldn't go on like this. I was falling apart piece by piece, and they couldn't even see it. But the worst part? Something told me it was coming, but I wasn't ready. Have you ever been in a situation where you were so overwhelmed with caring for someone you loved that you forgot about yourself? Share your story in the comments. You might be able to help someone else who is suffering know that they are not alone. Saturday morning, I woke up on the couch, neck stiff, the smell of spilled coffee still clinging to the mattress. The kids were gone. Fiona had rushed in at 11:03 last night, brushing past me with a cursory "thank you" before whisking them out. I didn't sleep after that, just lay there staring at the ceiling, yesterday's eviction notice burning a hole in my brain. Something was wrong. I could feel it gnawing at me. I forced myself up, grabbed my laptop, and decided it was time to figure out what the hell was going on. My bank account was my first stop. I needed to know how I'd gotten myself into debt when I'd been so careful. The apartment was quiet now, a rare silence over the chaos. My laptop hummed, the blue glow of the screen cutting through the gray morning light, filtering through the torn blinds. Outside, the rain tapped against the window, steady, relentless, as if tapping into the doubts that had built up inside me. I logged into my banking app, my fingers shaking over the keys, and scrolled through the transaction. Rent, groceries, the $300 I sent Fiona each month. It was all there, neat and calculated. My balance would cover it even if it was tight, so why the eviction notice? Why $1,200 past due? My pulse quickened, a cold sweat prickled at my neck. I double-checked the date, the amount. Everything made sense, except it didn't. Fiona's $300 had been calculated precisely, deposited directly into her account. If I sent it, her rent would be paid, right? That's when the itch became a real alarm. I picked up the phone, my hands shaking, and called her landlord. I'd met him once, a rude guy in his 50s who always smelled of cigarettes. I played it cool, pretended I was just confirming payment for Fiona. His voice cracked over the line. She hasn't paid in 3 months, ma'am. I'm about to kick her out. But it's funny, I saw her driving a new car last week. A shiny red one. Where's she getting all that money? The words hit me like a brick. 3 months, no rent, a new car. My stomach dropped. A terrible, twisting free fall. I muttered a thank you and hung up, the phone slipping from my hand and onto the table. Fiona had taken my money, my $300 a month, and pocketed it. No rent. She'd spent it all on herself. She drove a shiny red car, either rented or bought with the help of someone else. But either way, it wasn't her paycheck. While I was here, facing eviction, scrubbing the kids' messes off the floor. It all came rushing back to me at once, a flood of memories I'd tried to bury. All the nights I'd refused to go out with friends, afraid to buy anything because I'd sent Fiona my last $50. I'd worked overtime, eyes stinging at my desk, just to keep the checks rolling in her direction. I had skipped takeout, lived on ramen noodles and day-old bread, telling myself I was saving her family, feeding Tommy and Matt, keeping a roof over their heads. I thought I was the hero, the big sister who'd done it all. Turns out I'd been funding a lie. She'd played me, and I'd been too stupid or too loyal to see it. My hands clenched into fists, my nails digging into my palms. The rain outside began to fall, pounding against the glass, but it was nothing compared to the storm raging inside my head. I couldn't sit still. I picked up the phone again and called her. It rang twice before she picked up, her voice soft, as if she were half drunk on a latte. Hey, Crystal, what's up? I could barely get the words out, my throat tight, my voice shaking. What did you do with the money I sent you? There was a pause, and then she laughed. I spent it all, you idiot. I have 2 kids to feed. You think that's cheap? I have a steady job. I'm fine. The ease of it, the entitlement, shocked me. I didn't scream, I didn't curse, I just hung up, the click echoing in the silence. My vision blurred, hot tears rolled down my cheeks, and I let them fall. For a minute, I was lost in it. Hurt, shame, the weight of all the sacrifices crashing down. But then the tears stopped, sharp and sudden, like a faucet turned off. I wiped my face, breathing steadily. I wasn't sad, I was angry. She was a knife, shiny, sharp, a blade that I had polished myself. I gave it to her, trusting her to keep it safe, and she stabbed me in the back, letting me bleed slowly while I smiled and nodded. I didn't see the cut, didn't feel the sting. Until now, as the blood pooled at my feet. The laughter on the phone, that was all I could hear, echoing in my ears. No apologies, no guilt, just, "You're okay," as if my life were a footnote. Ugh. I didn't scream. I didn't cry anymore. It was over. Tears wasted on a sister who had laughed while I drowned. The anger was still there, a pulsing wire beneath my skin, but it wasn't fierce now. It was focused, cold, a tool I could use. I'd spent years trying so hard for Fiona, letting her drain me until I was hollow. No more. I would take my life back, piece by piece, and she would feel every cut she'd made to me returned in full. Not in fights or big scenes. That wasn't my style. This was revenge the quietest way, the kind of revenge that hurt the most because she wouldn't see it coming. It was late, past midnight, when I started. Moonlight filtered through the tattered curtains of my cramped apartment, spilling across my cluttered desk. Old bills, coffee stains, a laptop still warm from this morning's calculations. The eviction notice sat there too, a grim reminder, but I didn't fear it anymore. I was done being a victim. I held the phone, my thumb steady as I typed out a message to Fiona. "No more money. Take care of yourself." I pressed send and waited, knowing she would be furious. Sure enough, my phone lit up 30 seconds later, her name flashing, a series of missed calls piling up. I let it ring, sharp against the silence until she went to voicemail. Are you abandoning your family? She yelled, her voice hoarse with fake tears. I'm going to tell Mom and Dad, you selfish bastard. I didn't flinch. I didn't call back. I muted her number and turned the phone over. She could scream into the void all she wanted. I wasn't listening. I dug up her landlord's number from my call log, the guy who'd dropped the bomb about her unpaid rent and that shiny red car. It was late, but I didn't care. I didn't wait for polite hours. He picked up, groggy, cigarette phlegm in his throat. Oh? I didn't waste any time. Fiona screwed me, I said, flat. I sent her $300 a month for rent and she's still holding on. Haven't paid you a dime. You might want to push harder to evict her. She has no reason to. There was a pause, then a small chuckle. Okay. Fuck it, I'll take care of it. Thanks, kid. I hung up, a dark satisfaction settling in. A week later, I heard through the grapevine, Fiona was out, bags on the curb, kids in tow, no lease, no mercy. Her sparkly coat wouldn't save her now. She had nowhere to go but her parents' house, and it was a cage she wouldn't like. Then it was time to face the family head-on. Mom and Dad had been Fiona's cheerleaders from day one, hammering the she's fragile line into me like it was gospel. I had swallowed it. I composed a message, short and brutal. I've given Fiona over $5,000 in 3 years. Ask her where it went while I was hiding from debt collectors. I attached screenshots, bank statements, wire transfers, every dollar I'd bled for her laid bare. I sent it without hesitation. My phone rang almost immediately. Mom's, then Dad's, the calls in quick succession. I picked up once only to hear them stammer, Crystal, honey, we didn't know. Mom began, her voice shaking. Dad interrupted. Let's talk about this. I didn't let them finish. I'm tired, I said, my voice cold. Don't call me again. Click. I blocked their number. The silence that followed was louder than their excuses. The news came. Fiona was at their house, whining that I had ruined her life. Good. Let her wallow in the mess she'd made. I had been their ATM, their fixer, the daughter they leaned on when Fiona played the part of a teenager. I wasn't a person to them. I was a resource, drained until I had nothing left to give. Realizing that gave me strength, a fire I didn't know I had. I was cutting ties, all of them, and it felt like shedding a layer of skin that was too old. No more late-night babysitting. No more emergencies that ate up my paycheck. I was free and they couldn't stop me. The burden was slowly easing, bit by bit, and I was breathing again. I was a mountain now, not a pile of rubble they could kick down. I'd been silent for so long, letting them carve me apart, but when the avalanche came, there was no stopping it. They didn't see me growing stronger under all that pressure. Didn't think I'd fight back. Fiona didn't ask why I'd given up. My parents didn't ask. For the first time in years, I laughed, a sound that welled up from somewhere deep, raw and free. It wasn't loud, it wasn't triumphant. It was mine. I'd turned the tables and... damn, it felt good. I held the money in my hand, the numbers on my banking app glowing on the screen of my phone. It was the first month in years that I hadn't sent Fiona a dime, and it felt like a golden ticket out of the hell I'd been living in. No more $300 disappearing into her black hole, no more struggling to prop up her life while mine crumbled. This was mine now, and I wasn't just saving it. I was using it to escape, to build something of my own. The weight of that choice settled, not heavy but light, like a door opening after years of being bolted shut. I was no longer their crutch. This was my escape, and I was running after it. My new place was a world away from the shabby suburban box I'd once called home. Now I was downtown, steps from the Chicago River, in a sleek one-bedroom apartment with hardwood floors that sparkled in the sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. The balcony was my favorite. Small, but jutting out over the water, the city lights dancing across it at night like a private show just for me. I stood there, a mug of homebrewed coffee warming my hands, steam curling in the crisp evening air. The river flowed steadily below, a gentle murmur drowning out the chaos I'd left behind. It was the opposite of the storm I'd lived in. No dripping faucets, no flashing lights, just peace. I deserved this, every inch of it, and it was mine alone. True victory begins with a leap I'd been too afraid to take. After Fiona's drain was cleared, I had some spending money, enough to sign up for an online marketing course I'd had my eye on for years. I'd sit at my old desk after work at night, laptop lit, and dump everything into it. SEO, branding, analytics, the works. I did great, topping my class. And I turned that into ammunition at the office. I launched a campaign, bold, edgy, something my boss couldn't ignore. He didn't just like it, he loved it. 2 months later, I was a senior strategist with a 20% raise and a corner office with my name on the door. I'd walk in every morning, heels clicking on the tile, and it wasn't just a job anymore. It was proof that I was really good at something, proof that I didn't need anyone else to help me. When I got my first paycheck, I moved in, signed the lease without a second thought. No more duct tape sneakers or ramen dinners. I was living now, not just existing. Fiona had fallen out of my orbit, and I made sure it stayed that way. The family had gone quiet, too. Mom and Dad hadn't called since I dropped the truth bomb about her lies. I didn't reach out, didn't check in. I owed them nothing. Not a dollar, not a word. One night, my phone buzzed as I sat on the balcony, the city skyline twinkling like a promise. It was her. Fiona. A text message. I was wrong, Crystal. Help me one more time. I read it, the words hanging there, and I felt nothing, no guilt, no attraction, just a faint flicker of pity that quickly disappeared. She was done with me. Years of sweat, dreams, my life. I sipped my coffee, letting the warmth sink in, and deleted the message. It was gone in a flash, as if she had never sent it. She was no longer my problem. I was no longer her savior, her bank, her anything. I was free. I was a river now, once blocked, choked by their needs, their weight pressing down on me until I could no longer float. But the dam had broken, and I was rushing forward, unstoppable, carving my own path. The water was rushing, washing away all the debris, Fiona's excuses, Mom's guilt trips, Dad's silences. I was alone here, and I was enough. I didn't look back, didn't wonder what they were doing. They were behind me, fading into the distance, and I didn't slow down to see if they were okay. This was my time, my space, my victory, not because I had crushed them, but because I had saved myself. No turning back, no regrets, no I'm sorry slipping from my lips to patch things up. I didn't need their approval, their love, their anything. I had my coffee, my vision, my life, and it was more than I ever thought I'd ask for. I leaned against the balcony railing, the wind blowing through my hair, cool and sharp. Fiona was dealing with the aftermath, probably still whining to her parents, the kids running around the house. They were quiet now, no more calling, no more begging. Maybe they'd realized I wasn't just talking, that I was really gone. Or maybe the river whispered its approval behind me. I had plans, dreams, a future, and for the first time, it was all mine. If you are still here, thank you for going through the journey with Crystal. Perhaps through each line, you have also seen yourself somewhere in this story. Maybe you were the one who supported the whole family, made silent sacrifices, and went without food so that others could be full. Have you ever helped someone so much that you forgot about yourself? Have you ever sacrificed so much that you became invisible to your loved ones? Please leave your share in the comment section. Crystal is not the only one who carries that burden, who knows your story may help someone dare to stand up, dare to choose themselves again like she did. If this story touches you, please like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on ordinary but powerful stories like this.